And we're rolling in 3, 2, 1. Our guest today is the creator of her own special brand of adult coloring books and will be presenting at the Okotoks Business Association a workshop with adult coloring books and how it pertains to mental health and performance on the second Thursday of April. She is also an art instructor. This is the Meincke Show podcast, and I'm your host, Mark Meincke. Please welcome to the show, Crystal Salamon. Crystal, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me.
It is so fun. Because you're just such a boring person, though. You're just so monotone, and you're not animated.
Very serious.
Very
all the
serious.
Time.
You should have been
all
a doctor.
Yeah. Oh no. I don't know if we want to go down that path.
So let's talk about the origins. Way back in the university days, art was something that you thought you could just get out of your system, but that didn't really happen, did it?
Yeah. So ever since I was a kid, I've always loved to draw. I've always loved anything creative, anything crafty. And it's funny because every year my mom would pull out one of those, like the yearly, like the book where you talk about what did you do each year? And she put in some of my art from the year and that sort of thing. And there was a little section where you had to check off, when I grow up, I want to be. And so every year I would check off artist and then, a real job. So I actually wanted to be a doctor for quite a long time, but I always loved art. It was always my passion. It was always a very natural thing for me. I was always drawing. But I did actually, as a responsible person, went to university to become a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatrician because I love kids and I love helping people and I love being challenged, and it seemed like a great fit. So I went to university for pre-med. I finished my pre-med at the University of Saskatoon. And I started studying for the MCAT to get into med school. And I panicked a little bit.
Is that the entrance exam, kind of like the bar exam for
like
lawyers?
the LSAT kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I panicked a little bit. It started to really hit me. I had taken one course, an art course, while doing my pre-med to kind of get it out of my system. And I found that I loved it more than anything else. I would spend more time on that one art class than I would on all of my sciences combined. And I did well in my sciences, but I was passionate about the art. It was different. And for the first time, I truly experienced that feeling of flow.
Right.
Where I was working on a painting and I was working on it for hours and hours. And it was just like time had disappeared. It's like I'd entered this other level of existence that I'd never really fully experienced before. And I couldn't get past it. I couldn't get over it. It was just,
I wonder if that's an artist's thing. And I wonder if it's only the hyper creative that get to experience that. I know the feeling of flow you're talking about. And it's funny, before that was a buzzword, that's what I called it. Mm-hmm. And it felt like I was plugging into source. It was with the first book that I published, Why Not Me? The Keys to Unlock Your Power and Release Your Potential. Mm-hmm. And when I was really in the groove, or in the zone, as I used to call it, it's like I was right in the back of my neck, like I was connected to the creative power, and when I was connected, the writing would be great. When I wasn't connected and I was just trying to do it from my head, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
It would suck, and I'd have to delete it and wait till that I could feel that flow again, and then it would be good. Mm-hmm. Is it like that with your art? If you're trying to use your head, it doesn't come out the same way as when you're in that flow?
Absolutely. And that is actually a challenge that I face now whenever I'm doing creative work. If I'm not feeling the inspiration for it, I need to step back and wait for the inspiration to hit. Because if I try to push it, you can see it in the work, and I'm not happy with it. Like it's you can't force it too much. Mm-hmm. Or you can see that. Yeah.
You got to be connected to that source, whatever that source is, for it to really flow. The inspiration.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah, for sure. It helps if you're inspired. But I mean, when I speak to kids, so in April, I'm speaking at the Foothills Young Authors and Illustrators Conference, and this will be my 4th year speaking to them. And something that I like to bring up each time when I'm presenting to these children is we talk about the concept of flow and finding your passion and the things that really spark the spirit within you. It's different things for all of us. And it's interesting to see where they find their flow, because it's not always from something creative. It could be When you're reading a book, you know, you're so into the book that time disappears and it's like you're in another dimension or something. You're inside the book. Time disappears. It could be when you're playing video games
Well,
or playing
it's
soccer
right
or, you
where
know,
my head
that's kind
went.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's not even, I mean, there certainly is something special about the creative flow and the inspiration, the creative inspiration, but you can have flow in all kinds of different areas of your life. And I think we need to pay attention to the things in the world that do that for us. Pay attention to when, like, what things in your life make time disappear, you know, where you could just immerse yourself in that and spend all day and you wouldn't even know what time it is, because those are probably your passions or tied to your passions. And you should make sure that you make time to pursue those things and have them involved in your life for your whole life, because that can really help you to find fulfillment and happiness and give you that escape that you often need to be able to deal with the stresses of life and find that balance for yourself. Yeah.
Dr. Jordan Peterson's the number one author in the world right now. He's from Northern Alberta, from Valley View originally. Now he's recently he was a professor in the University of Toronto, and he talks about the curse of creativity. How when it's in you and you know that you have to, you know, like a dog's got to bark and a bird's got to fly, a creative person has to have their creative outlet, or you just can't be happy. If you're an artist, you have to create art. If you're a writer like myself, you have to write, or you will always be restless.
Yeah.
And but the challenge is in monetizing that.
Yeah.
That is not bloody easy. So that's why they call the starving artist. You know, regardless of the medium of your art. And yet it's the one thing in our society that's not going to be replaced by artificial intelligence and robots.
Yeah.
At least I hope not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
Uniquely human.
when you decided to leave the corporate world and make the jump into, okay, I'm going to monetize my art, how scary was that?
It was terrifying. Well, I mean, stepping back to when I was studying for the MCAT and I had that realization of, you know, art is in me. I can't ignore this. What am I doing? Should I be a doctor? Because I mean, being a doctor it's got to be your life. It takes
Yeah.
over everything. You have to really, really want it. And I needed to take a break to explore what was really important to me before jumping in. So I actually ended up taking off a year of university and I went home back to the Northwest Territories and I worked at a law firm and saved up as much money as I could. And then I took off to Europe for 5.5 months, just me and my backpack. And this was back before the days of, here, I'll date myself. Back before the days of having a cell phone, really. I had one for emergencies. It was one of those big block ones with like the black and white screen. I didn't really use it much. It was, I was still using books and,
Texting
you know, my
wasn't a
parents
thing
would go
yet.
for days without knowing where I was. And it was hard to get on the internet and all of that. So it was really just me and a book and the people that I meet along the way. And it was an incredible experience.
Which, did you have any favorite countries? Any
Oh.
favorite spots?
So many. I went to 8 countries on that trip and I spent over a month of my 5.5 months in Italy. I started there actually doing an immersion language course. And so I lived in Florence for a month.
So immersion into Italian? I'd
Into
imagine?
Italian, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Italian. I ended up being my minor in university.
I can get slapped in Italian.
Oh, really?
Yes, I know.
Should we test that later?
I know how to say things that I shouldn't that will invariably get me slapped across the face.
Oh, man.
I can say that in Italian.
That could be fun. Yeah, well, I love Italy. I mean, I love the language and the romance of it all and the history and of course the art. But I mean, as I traveled, I met all kinds of people from different countries. I ended up traveling with different people or going to visit people in their homes and a lot of people that I met along the way, I'm still in touch with now. You know, how many years? Oh my gosh, I won't even count, but definitely over 10 years. We'll say that, maybe closer to 20. But yeah, I traveled across Europe and through that experience, I learned a lot about myself and who I am and what lights my fire and makes my spirit smile. And I just couldn't ignore the fact that for some reason, something inside of me is incredibly drawn to art and creativity, and I just couldn't ignore it.
Well,
So I decided that was more important than anything. I had to explore it. I had to pursue it, and I couldn't ignore it. It's a big part of me. So I ended up changing from pre-med or from medicine sciences, majoring in anatomy, to art and design. And I switched universities. I went to the University of Alberta as well.
Did you second guess yourself once you made that decision?
Absolutely. Well, I don't know that I would say I second guessed myself. I was scared. I mean, I couldn't ignore it. I knew it was the right thing to do and I had to do it. But it's scary. I mean, to think of, being a doctor,
Yeah.
and then switch to being an artist. It's very
solid,
unknown.
Steady income to
exactly. Yeah.
God knows what.
Exactly. But I had to trust that something inside of me would lead me to the success that I needed. It would work out. I had to trust that. And my poor grandma, because she was determined that I was going to be a brain surgeon, I guess, which is funny because I never was going to be a brain surgeon, but saving all these lives and then becoming an artist instead. I mean, basically I was letting all these people die as an artist.
That's dark.
I
That's
know.
dark.
It was a terrible, terrible conversation, but I think she's come around now. And it is funny because the way things have turned out, I wanted to be a doctor so that I could help people. And now through my art, I'm able to help people in a different way. And it's funny because it is actually in a medical way in a lot of ways, as far as being able to help with mindfulness and a lot of people who struggle with mental illness and depression and PTSD and other things too have been finding comfort in the art and the journey that I've been in and provided and included them in. And yeah, it's just really neat to see.
So how does that work? Let's say people with PTSD as an example. How does it help them?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because for some people, coloring and creativity in general can be really quite therapeutic for them. It doesn't necessarily work for everyone. Everyone has to kind of find their own thing. But I think, I mean, when the idea of adult coloring first came to North America, there was a lot of hype in the news about how it was great for mindfulness and it sounded like it was going to be the superhero of making everyone's lives better. And I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily just coloring per se. I think it's creativity, that we all need that balance in our lives. We need to experience mindfulness. We need to be able to be in the moment and to be able to block out the things that are bothering us or that we're struggling with so that we can find that sort of creative side of us. And coloring is just such an easy way for people to be able to find creativity. So it's not necessarily coloring specifically, but it's creativity in general. And coloring is just one avenue where people
it's so accessible.
Exactly.
I find the same sort of cathartic experience on the driving range. I can't golf for shit. But I enjoy being on the driving range where it doesn't matter, and I'm just focusing on what I'm doing. My head isn't anywhere else other than me, the club, and the ball, and watching it go where it shouldn't.
Yeah.
But you can't just take a golf club and a ball and when you're feeling a little bit of anxiety, just start whacking golf balls.
Yeah.
But with a coloring book, you can bring that with you anywhere.
Yeah.
And take a little 5-minute de-stress break, just to get your head out of that. And I could even see it for as a tool for suicide intervention.
Yeah, absolutely. They have them in the hospitals.
Instead of calling the suicide hotline, if you can't find one, pull out a coloring book and just, because what it does is it gets your head out of that narrative. It snaps you out of that hole. If you can't get somebody on the phone. So I can see it as being a very, very powerful tool.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I early on after I published my first book, I received a message from a mother who her daughter, who was I think around 8 or 10, she was suffering from PTSD and she was almost completely nonverbal. She had a trauma in her life, and so she stopped talking pretty much. It was rare that she would talk. And then her mom found, like, she got my coloring book and laid it out on the table, and they were coloring together. And then her daughter started talking. And then she discovered that they could use coloring as a tool, because when she was coloring, it's almost like her walls would come down and she'd focus on the book and she wouldn't be so concerned. Like, it was like ideas and thoughts could just flow, and she was finding safety or comfort while coloring. I'm not a doctor, but I'm not a doctor. But it was incredible to hear that for
But I
some
play one on
reason
TV.
she felt safe while she was coloring and was able to talk. And I have heard that from other people too, that, people who are even having trouble communicating in general with their kids, you can just sit down at the table, spread it all out and just hang out, and even have your, like, I know there are ladies who have their girlfriends over and they'll crack open a bottle of wine, they'll spread coloring out on the table, and it's a way that they can hang out together, do something together, but still be able to talk, as opposed to watching a movie or something like that. You can let the conversation flow freely, and it's amazing what will come out.
It seems like it's a tool as well to help build attention spans.
Yes.
'Cause,
ADHD and ADD. I hear a lot of people having success there too. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because you're, let's say you have 5 minutes of coloring in you, and that's it. You can do 5 minutes in a shot. Well, if you're doing that consistently, and 5 turns into 7, turns into 10, and that is a transferable ability. To have that focus and stay in the moment, transfers over to a book, so you can stay in the story longer. It transfers over to task orientation, but it starts at something that they're enjoying, and just work at it with the coloring. That makes sense to me.
Like training that muscle.
It is training a muscle. It's actually difficult for me to this day, sitting down for any length of time and staying in between the lines, and maybe I just need better reading glasses. Maybe it's half the battle, but it is something that you build and build and build.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful tool.
Well, I've also heard some interesting stories from people in regards to dementia and Alzheimer's, because coloring is such it's a fairly easy thing to do, and it's something we did as kids. So it's something. So, for example, if someone's going to visit their mom who's suffering from dementia, they can bring coloring with them, and then that's something that, again, they can do together, and then natural conversation can come out. And it's something that it's a skill that's harder to forget. So maybe they used to knit, but now they can't remember how to knit, and that could be very frustrating. Well, it's a lot easier to pull out some coloring supplies and just have everybody color together. That's something that they don't necessarily lose. So it gives them something that they can do together. And a skill that's not too difficult for everyone to partake in. So it's interesting how that's being used.
Well, with too many kids spending way too much time on screens, and too many parents who are finding solace in that. It's like, oh, great, now I don't have to parent, because that's hard damn work. I'll just give them a screen and go on autopilot, parented by the screen. The other day I was sitting down with my kids with one of your books, and adult or not, they still liked it, and even though it's kind of, some of the ones are more complex than others.
Yeah.
But we sat down together, and it was a wonderful opportunity to pump their tires and give them positive affirmations, and for them to, everybody is, and it's just more a parenting kids. Look at me, look what I did, look what I did.
Yeah.
That never actually leaves you.
Yeah.
That's in all of us to some degree. And with the coloring, it's just a great way. It's a great excuse to say, well, hey, look what you did. That's like great job.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
Yeah.
It also gets to, it's revealing kind of what their thought process are, and their color association, and you get to watch it happen in front of you. But you're doing it with them as well, not to compete, like who's better, but just to share.
Yeah.
Here's my ideas, and then you get to see, here's my ideas. It's a great affirmation thing.
Yeah.
But it's a definite quality time with the kids, and it's easy, and it's cheap.
Yeah. And you can pick it up and put it down, no problem. You don't have to prepare the paints and do a lot of cleanup or anything like that. It's not expensive. You could go to the dollar store. It's just fine. Whatever.
The art in your books are spectacular, and thank you so much. You gifted me a couple of books the other day, and they're just wonderful.
Thank you.
And so they go for about $20 each, do they?
Yeah, the books. And then I have a line of large coloring stickers that are waterproof vinyl ones, which are fun. And I make like buttons, pins, posters, giant posters, and seek and find coloring games. I have a Christmas game that's a poster, and there's a list of almost 200 things to look for and then color.
And coloring stickers you have.
Stickers. Yeah. And
Kids love stickers.
stickers and cards, and grown-ups love stickers. The
I
weirdest
keep
thing.
saying kids.
No,
I know, I'm
it is
sorry.
for kids and grown-ups. That's okay. I found actually usually from 7 and up can typically do the detailed coloring just fine. Oftentimes younger too. It depends on the kid. But I also make big posters for the smaller guys, and I have like a mini coloring wall that's washable that little guys can do, so they can color it
Didn't
over
Jiffy
and over
marker
again.
a vehicle a while ago? What was that all about?
I did. Yeah. Last year, Precision Hyundai, they did a wrap on one of their cars, the new Kona that came out, and they put my artwork on there so people could actually color it with Sharpies.
That is so
Which was
awesome.
so cool. They're doing it again this year. So in April, if you missed it last year, this year in April for the Autism Awareness Contest that we run, Precision Hyundai in Calgary will have a car with my artwork on it. So you can do it at the World Autism Awareness Day, which is April 2nd. It's a live event in downtown Calgary. We'll have the car there. And if you missed that, then it should be at Precision Hyundai in the dealership, and you can go in there and color on their car or on my coloring wall too. I'll have a wall there.
And for people
fun.
For people to get a hold of your spectacular, awesome coloring books, how do they get a hold of them?
Well, you can find them on my website, crystalsalomon.com. I have a link to my online store. I also have in Okotoks, I have most of my products in shared spaces in downtown Okotoks. So those are the most consistent places to find my work. Most of my sales are online, which is awesome.
So that's crystalsalomon.com. Now, Salamon is not salmon, it's Salamon.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
S-A-L-A-M-A-N.
M-O-N.
S-A-L-A-M-O-N.
That's the one. Yeah.
S-A-L-A-M-O-N.
We were just talking about how your name is always spelled incorrectly too.
Yes. Isn't Salamon one of the characters in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, but probably spelled differently just because. And it's funny, Mercedes-Benz magazine did an article about me, which was so exciting. It's super, super exciting. But they spelled my name 3 different ways. And the article wasn't very long. It was maybe 5 sentences or something. Yeah, it was Crystal Salmon. Not impressed. Yeah. But I can't complain because it's Mercedes-Benz, which is just cool. But
So
yeah.
they were writing an article about you. What was that about?
Yeah. Just about the success that I was having with my first book and how popular adult coloring was.
What's the link to Mercedes? Like, why?
I know, right?
Well, that's interesting.
Because, well, I focus on making high quality products.
Okay.
Which I like to think is part of why they resonated with that. And then, yeah, I don't know. That's when the trend was really hot in Canada. So
it goes to show that you never know who's going to be interested in your work.
Yeah.
You just never know. And it's usually a surprise.
Yeah.
It's usually a surprise, comes from
Weird,
most.
hey?
But if you don't get yourself out there, nobody's going to know about you. You'll be the world's best secret.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was very lucky with the timing of my first book. I ended up creating it as the trend was coming to North America. So when it released, it was releasing right as that wave hit. And the media picked up on me very quickly, even while I was making my first book, actually, thanks to Facebook, largely. A lot of what I've been doing has been through social media. 95% of my success probably has been through Facebook.
That's amazing.
And
everybody
it's crazy.
tries to get success through there. Practically nobody does. But yet it's working for you. It's just, that's awesome.
So early on, when I started to create the book, I was actually posting all kinds of behind the scenes on Facebook, for the most part, sharing what I was doing and all the progress, and then also including everyone in it too. So asking questions and getting feedback, and then, what should I put in the background and how's this one looking? And it's awesome because then it's more fun for me too, because then it's more of a collaboration with the people who'd actually be coloring the book, which is perfect. The books are for them. My art isn't for me, it's for everyone else. It's for the world. So to have a platform where I can actually communicate directly with the world and with those people and create the best product that I possibly can for them, there's incredible value there. And so I created the book with them, and then the local media caught on, and I ended up on the cover of Metro Calgary newspaper before the book was even made.
That is pretty
which is
spectacular.
pretty nuts. So front page of the paper, and then they hired me to do 13 weeks of adult coloring contests.
Oh my gosh.
So a full page in their paper every single week with a design that was Calgary themed. And it was for adults, a coloring contest. And nothing like that had ever been done before. And this is, again, when adult coloring was a weird idea. It was new. And they ended up winning a national award for my coloring contests.
Holy
for all
smokes.
all of the media across
for
Canada.
Unique ideas. What was the award exactly?
Yeah,
For
I forget. I have a picture of it online. It's something to do with it was a national advertising award for uniqueness of a way to actually
it
do
occurs to me
advertising.
that there's something very different and unique about creating adult coloring books, is that it's extremely intimate actually with with how you share your art, because it's not just you're going to a gallery and you're looking at somebody's creation on the wall. You're interacting with that creation.
Yeah.
It's a very intimate relationship with the people that pick up your books.
This is part of what I love about the idea of just coloring in general. I mean, I take this stand with all of my art. So you'll see when you look at my books, I'm very particular about the quality of everything that goes in it. And I pour my heart and soul into everything that I make. And with the books, I approach it as art. I mean, yes, it's coloring, but if you're completing a very detailed page, it takes hours and hours to finish even just one page. So it's art. It's your art. It's not just my art. It's yours. It's a collaboration between the designer and the colorist. So I create the line art, and then you complete it by putting a piece of yourself into the art, because the same page can look totally different depending on who colored it. So when you complete the art, I have a little spot on the bottom of every page and every poster where you sign your name as the colorist. So there's my name, and I usually sign my stuff there, and then you can sign your name as the colorist because we collaborated to complete the artwork. And I also size everything so that they can be framed easily. So when you're done, you should be able to frame it and enjoy it as art. And I love that. I love that. And you're right. It is a very intimate and special relationship that you have because you're creating this artwork together.
You're
I love that.
co-creating. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Crystal?
And it's fun because people share it online too, right? So I get to see how they color my art, and it's incredible. I love it. I love so much about it. Yeah.
Well, Crystal, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time. This is
it's
fun.
Fantastic. We'll have to do this again, and maybe a regular spot.
Sure. So if you don't mind, I just love to invite people to come to crystalsalomon.com/subscribe. I do have a free online art club there. So I send out emails with tutorials and videos to teach you how to do different techniques and get you inspired. And then there's the autism awareness contest that I'll be sending out as well. And then, of course, the Okotoks Business Association I'll be speaking at in April. And thank you again for inviting me there. I'd love to meet people. Come on out, guys.
It's going to be fun. Okotoks Business Association, the second Thursday of April from 7 to 9 in the morning. We will be at 62 Fisher Place at Miles Display and Design on the second floor. The building is owned and operated by Patty Tuttle, who is our fantastic hostess. And it is a beautiful, beautiful venue. So come on out, meet about 30 other business owners. It's been standing room only. We did sell out last time, and I'm expecting to sell out again this time. And for both March and April, I'm going to be putting out the March event right away here.
Yes, they buy tickets online, right?
Buy tickets online. To find the Okotoks Business Association to buy the tickets, you go onto Facebook. Look for Okotoks Business Association, and the events will be on there with the link to the Eventbrite tickets. And if you just don't like clicking on things and filling things out, just bring $20 at the door, and we'll be cool. But you might not get in because I cap it at 25 tickets because there's always an overflow, and it could be standing room only. So if you actually want a chair, you better get the tickets early as soon as it gets posted on Facebook. All right. So this is the Meincke Show podcast. You can watch us on YouTube, or if you're a podcast type of person, anchor.fm is where they are uploaded first, and then they go to iTunes and everywhere that podcasts are found. Thank you for tuning in today, and please click subscribe on the Meincke Show podcast. If you would like to be a guest on the show and you are a really cool, interesting person, reach out to me. We'll do a pre-interview, and if you pass muster, we'll have you on the show. Mark Meincke, your favorite local realtor and host of the Meincke Show podcast.